Am I the a-hole for getting my new coworker fired for falsely accusing me of being racist? Hi, I work in healthcare and this has been a huge stir among my coworkers, and most are hugely divided. This was sometime last year, and I waited a bit for anonymity's sake. I work in the ER as a nurse. There was a new nurse working who was in her first week working with me that day. I was talking to the CNA about a new patient I had just got. I should note, this patient's name includes either a racial slur or a racist nickname for their race. I don't want to elaborate on what their name is for patient privacy. I know it's not great to say it, but hypothetically you could think of it as being Mr. Ching Chong. So I said to the CNA, I need to go check on Mr. Mrs. Blank. The new nurse gave me a crazy look and said, I can't believe you just called your patient that. I tried to stop her and explain that, hey, that's actually his name. But she kept yelling and cussing at me, calling me a racist. It was super embarrassing and it got the attention of several staff members, patients, and visitors. After she calmed down and breathed for a second, the CNA told her that it's the patient's legal name. She looked in disbelief, and she was shown their chart. She awkwardly laughed and apologized, but the damage was done. I went to HR right after my shift ended, and they fired her within an hour. She was in her 90-day period, and they figured it wasn't worth it to keep her when she had already created a hostile work environment. Several coworkers have defended her and said she thought she was standing up to racism. I think she should have let me freaking speak after she said I can believe you said that, because I was about to tell her that it was their actual name. I don't think screaming and going off like that in the workplace is appropriate anyways. Am I the a-hole? I need some peace of mind on the subject. Now for the top comments. But she kept yelling and cussing at me. Several co-workers said she thought she was standing up to racism. Not the a-hole. She didn't just get fired for calling you a racist. She also made a huge scene in a professional setting with patients around. Not the a-hole. They fired her for her lack of professionalism. She behaved incredibly unprofessionally, and she was fired for that. Not because she stood up to racism. Everyone should take a stand against racism, but yelling, screaming, etc. is not standing up to racism. That is just behaving unprofessionally. Had she taken it to HR or her supervisor, that would have been different. People hate HR, but this is exactly why it exists. If the new coworker had gone to HR, she could have just said something to them. HR goes back and checks it out and maybe even handles it with OP never knowing. And then there's not a rift in staff, or this person being forced to leave for flying off the handle about something she was wrong about. I went to HR right after my shift ended, and they fired her within an hour. A nurse was fired for yelling at a coworker and apologizing. Must be a pretty well-staffed ER if that one incident was enough to get her canned. Most ERs will even let you get away with yelling at a patient once. There's 3 nursing schools within 60 minutes of where I live. We actually don't struggle for staffing. I've been here for 10 years. They are quick to fire anyone for any racial issues, etc. If someone comes across as a pot stirrer in their first 90 days, they will be let go quickly. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not caring if I made coworker late? When I started my new job, I found out that a woman who lives in the same complex as I do had started working there as well. She and I struck up a conversation, and after a week, we decided to carpool. It was great, a gas saver, and it's been working out pretty much perfectly. Except she has 2 kids who are really into long goodbyes, crying and whatnot, while her husband makes a minimal effort to get them so we can leave. When it's her turn to drive, I've been late a couple of times because, in her words, the kids were having a meltdown and her husband couldn't handle it, so she had to calm them down before leaving. I'm not talking majorly late. I'm talking about cutting into our grace period, and I don't like to consistently abuse our grace period. Well, this morning when I bent down like I do every morning to say goodbye to my baby boy, he climbed out of his bed, curled up around my arm, and put his head on me before going back to sleep. So I stayed there and let him sleep for another 15 minutes. She was calling my phone, and I kept telling her I was on my way. I finally got there, and she asked me what happened. I told her, and she got mad and asked me how I could make her late because of a damn cat. I told her we've been late before because of her children, and she absolutely said that was not the same thing, and I shouldn't compare it, because that's just an animal. I said, well, that animal is my baby, and anytime he needs me, I'm going to be there. So if that's an issue, I understand if you don't want to carpool anymore. She didn't say anything else on the way to work, but I heard through office gossip that she told people I made her late because of a cat. Laughing out loud. I'm fine with not carpooling with her anymore. Edit. He is 4 months old. He's about 3 pounds. He's a void, completely black with a tiny whisper of white on his belly. He's the cutest little thing. I wanted to post a picture, but it wouldn't let me. His name is Lucky. I just wanted to happily vent because I'm fine ending our carpool relationship. Wasn't my idea in the first place. I have PTO, I have an excellent attendance record, and I'm also good at my job. So if I decide to be late because of my cat, I can absorb the blow with no impact. If I choose to be late or take a day off because of my cat, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Turnabout is fair play. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. And a million other things my father used to say. The people in these comments have shown me that some folks are way too comfortable being disrespected, tucking their tails between their legs and walking away. You don't get to treat me a certain way and then dictate how I respond. For those of you who live your life that way, more power to you, but I'm not the one. Now for the top comments. Stop carpooling. Exactly. It looks like this arrangement isn't working for either of us. Let's go back to commuting separately. Not the a-hole, and I definitely would have bailed on that carpool the second time she made me late. She's pretty much lacking in self-awareness. Totally agree here. Funny how her kid's drama is fine, but a cuddly kitten nap is outrageous. Lucky's got more chill and empathy than she does. Not the a-hole. Oh, so her kid's crying is a valid reason to be late, but your emotional support furball doesn't count? Nah. If we're playing the empathy Olympics, it goes both ways. You gave her the same grace she expected from you. If she can't handle that, then yeah, solo rides it is. Enjoy the playlist. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't like her music anyway, lol. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not leaving my planters or landscaping when I move? So I'm moving soon. I bought a house and I can't wait. Recently, the people who bought my current house stopped by, which I always thought was a no-no unless you're selling to people you actually know, which is not the case. The reason for their visit was because they want me to leave my lawn decorations, including my planters, and they also want me to landscape the lawn for them. They said they saw pictures of the lawn from last year, and that it was one of the selling points, and they want me to do this at no extra cost to them. I told them no, that the planters were very expensive, and the cost to buy the plants and do the work was more than I wanted to take on, especially when I have a new lawn that I need to take care of. They said they may need to back out of the sale if that's the case. Here's the thing, I know a few things about real estate. My mother and her husband work in real estate, so I've picked up on a few things. Both houses are under contract, and if they were to try and pull out of the sale, then I can exercise a no cancellation clause. I could either sue them or force the sale of the house on them. I told them this as well. I also told them it's a small lawn, and between the two of them, it wouldn't take long to do, and they can add their own touches. They called me an a-hole, and one of my neighbors told me I should just do it to leave the house on a good note. I told them I'm already leaving on a good note because I'm scrubbing all the rugs, washing the windows, painting, fixing holes, and doing a general deep cleaning. So, am I the a-hole for not leaving my planters and landscaping when I move? Not the a-hole. I would contact my listing agent and talk to them about this. That buyer should not be coming around talking to you about anything outside the contract. I was always under the impression that you are not supposed to have any contact between both parties, and if there is anything that needs to be discussed, it goes through the agents. If you are selling to someone you know, then it's different. But this is not the case, so to me they have done a couple of things wrong. Not the a-hole. If the sales contract did not say that planters were being left, there is no obligation to do so. Landscaping the lawn is the new owner's responsibility. Again, unless there is a provision saying otherwise, which would be weird, but very noticeable. They are demanding what they want, not what they are entitled to. Tell the neighbor he can help them and be on great terms with his new neighbors, if you even speak to them again. I think the only reason the neighbor is on their side is because he doesn't want me to move. But I did tell him to help them since he really does nice work. His lawn looks better than mine. Next story. Am I the a-hole for winning my mom's storage unit at auction instead of giving her the money to save it herself? I, 24 female, was in and out of the foster care system. My mom would lose custody of me and my 3 siblings only to do the bare minimum to get us back, just for the cycle to repeat. I eventually aged out of foster care, went to college, and moved to another state. I still check in with my mom every week. She was diagnosed with heart failure, which came on from other terrible decisions. I offer support when she reaches out, whether it's with money, food, etc. Most of the time, I don't hear back. And when I do, it's usually because she wants something. She has a long history of lying to and stealing from all of us. She's currently homeless. We have offered her a place to stay if she gets clean, and she won't. After we turned 18, we reconnected with our extended family, grandparents and cousins, and those relationships have become important to us. A couple of months ago, she called me in a panic at 2 o'clock in the morning. She said her storage units were about to be auctioned off, that she wasn't even behind on payments, and that the owners were trying to scam her. She needed $1,000 immediately because there were only 15 hours left before the auction. I told her I'd check in the morning once I got to work and see what I could do. The next day, I did some digging and looked at the contents of the storage units. What was listed broke my heart. Family photos, vases from great-grandparents, personal documents, birth certificates, social security cards, my mom's clothing and tools, and everything from my grandmother's house. She passed away just last year. I decided to bid on the unit myself and ended up spending nearly $1,200 for it. Afterward, I spoke to the owners, who told me they'd been trying to help my mom for months, discounts, payment extensions, etc. But eventually, she just stopped answering them. They said they had no other option but to auction it. I was devastated. My siblings said that if I hadn't stepped in, all of those memories and important documents would have ended up in a stranger's hands. My siblings were relieved and grateful. But my mom, she accused me of violating her trust, told me I emotionally robbed her, that I stole from her and said I was a mistake. She even claimed our grandparents would be ashamed of me. I ended up taking a few days off work, drove out of state to the unit, and went through everything. I only kept what belonged to me and my siblings. Photos, documents, anything tied to our family history. I didn't throw away a single item of hers. Instead, I rented a new storage unit just down the road, moved all her belongings there, and paid 3 months in advance. I gave her all the information. Now I'm stuck with this heavy feeling. I can't shake the guilt, like I crossed the line or sank to her level somehow. But at the same time, I couldn't bear to see everything important to us vanish, especially knowing it would probably happen again in 6 months. Am I the a-hole for buying the storage unit out from under her? First off, you are not the a-hole, not by a long shot. Next, from this internet stranger to you, I am so sorry for this painful situation. I know this is a difficult time for you and your family. Most importantly, though, please take the time to be very gentle with yourself during this time. It sounds like you're carrying a big burden with you. Other people's words and pain, memories that perhaps aren't yet healed, and many other things. The heavy feeling you said you're stuck with, the guilt and concern you feel, are very real feelings, and I hope you truly give yourself space and grace to feel them, to cry, to vent, and even to laugh when needed. I wonder if the feelings you describe might also be a sort of grief. Grief over the situation, grief over your mother's health, grief over the evident pain your mother is experiencing in life that led things to get this bad, and even grief over an innocence, or just a time in your life that you may realize isn't there anymore. Consider also being deliberate in the language you use to describe what just happened. Buying it out from under her sounds different than a reframe like, saving important family treasures, and helping the family. Are there ways you can describe this differently in the words you use? Are the things mom is saying actually being spoken from her place of pain and fear, not from her truest sense of love? Lastly, again, I am sorry for your situation here and sincerely hope that things get better. Thank you for taking the time to write such a meaningful post. I appreciate your kindness, as it has helped me see the situation as it is. There is a lot of truth in what you've written. Working on myself has been a journey that will never end. I honestly felt all right until she called me. The things she said broke my heart. I do not want to hurt her. I feel the need to win her over and make her proud. And I know that makes me sound ridiculous as an adult, but I can't shake it. After reading some of the comments, I see it clearly from both sides. I think I need to take more time to process how I feel about the situation and see where I can go from there. Next story. Am I the a-hole for reporting my parents for taking out debt in my name? I'm 22 and just finished my 3rd year of university. Until recently, I was living with my parents. We've always had a decent relationship, though they've been strict at times. Recently, I started planning to move out. I found a rental I really liked, but during the application process, I discovered that my credit score was extremely low. I was confused since I've never opened any credit accounts or loans in my name. After some digging, I realized my parents had taken out multiple credit cards and loans under my name. It totaled around $60,000. I hadn't known about any of this, and they never gave me access to the mailbox, and I wasn't receiving any bills. When I confronted them, they said they did it during a tough financial period and planned to pay it off, but had fallen behind. They insisted I was overreacting and that this was temporary. I asked them to take full responsibility and clear the debt. I also asked for more independence in the house while I figured things out, including being allowed to have my boyfriend visit or stay over. They refused both. They told me I was being disrespectful and that I had no right to make demands while living under their roof. I didn't see a path forward, so I asked my aunt if I could stay with her temporarily. She agreed and was very supportive. After hearing everything, she encouraged me to report the situation to the police. I did. My parents were charged with identity theft. They're extremely angry and have told the rest of the family that I betrayed them. I didn't want things to end up this way, but I genuinely felt like I had no choice. I couldn't see a future for myself if I was stuck with this debt and still under their control. I feel guilty because I know this will have long-lasting consequences for them, but at the same time, I feel like I need to protect my future. Am I the a-hole for involving the police and pressing charges against my own parents? Not the a-hole. If you don't want to be charged with identity theft, don't commit identity theft. Yeah, that's right. Thanks. I really appreciate your response. Don't forget, besides the illegal activity, they tried to sabotage your future. Your family has no reason to be upset with you for looking out for yourself when you were abused financially, especially to the tune of $60,000. Not the a-hole. And please make sure to lock your credit as well as NCTUE. NCTUE handles utilities and isn't always covered just by locking your credit reports. Not the a-hole. They would have ruined your credit. It's already ruined as it is. I'll need a miracle to cover it back.